come home, but I work my dirty brittle fingers to the bone to make payments on a home that I will never own. I'm sure there's better things in life, but I will never know. There's more going on than the TV will show, but they keep you too busy to believe what you know. So evil will grow, you won't reap what you sow. You'll owe to those control who've cheated and stole. See, this is what I'm thinking, falling asleep as the sun slowly rises. When my crusty eyelids crack open, I won't give a fuck what the time is. Back on some bullshit hustle, back on some meaningless grind. Paid shit, slaving for the matrix, struggling to make it with my 9 to 5. What is life? I'll tell you what life seems to be to me.
And we're live. Welcome to the Black Flag podcast. This is going to be our cigar night. We don't have cigars because I still have getting over a cold. John's getting over a cold.
I am.
And I don't smoke cigars.
So
He's lame. Well, don't you smoke a pipe?
I do smoke a pipe, but it's cigar night, so.
He didn't even want to try.
Maybe next week is pipe night.
Pipe
Pipe
night?
night?
All right. Well,
I'd be down for pipe night.
Yeah,
That'd be fine.
that would fit in with our title. So first off, we're going to just do a quick ad for product. We weren't even expecting this. They sent us a product. We tried it out. It blew my mind.
Yeah. Changed my life.
Every aspect of my life is just, it's like I wake up in the morning and everything just has a shimmer to it. You know?
So actually what happened to me is I was feeling really low, kind of depressed. And to the point where I just, I feel like the world would be better off without me. And I was staring.
It's a bit dramatic.
I was staring on the edge of a building and just looking down, and the cement was calling to me.
It was calling your name?
Yeah, but then I remembered this product, and I thought, maybe I'll give it a go.
Maybe you can
And
have a lease on life, right?
It saved my life. So it's the greatest product I've ever tried. I keep 3 of them, one to keep with me, one in case I lose it, and one to keep in my car. So
There you go.
Yeah, well, and my experience was similar. I just felt like I wasn't getting any sleep. I just waking up groggy and tired every morning, aching muscles, and
now I have a full erection all the time.
barring that last one.
That doesn't sound good, actually. We're supposed to be promoting the product today.
Over 24 hours, believe it or not.
No, just my energy levels though are off the charts. Like I don't know if I've ever felt this good before.
Your hair, I must say, is longer and more luscious.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day is longer.
Every day.
So let's get into the show. What do we got
should we
first?
start?
Yeah. So
Well, the first thing on our list is the January 6th footage
Yeah.
that was released, I guess. You
So
want to talk about that for a second?
yeah. So I just think it's really funny how all of this footage is coming out that's Tucker Carlson's version of the truth.
Right.
And it's
just footage, right?
It's a lot of it's just raw footage. I mean, obviously there's 47,000 hours, so they have to cut and choose what to show.
Yeah, I mean,
But you can clearly see based on what's going on, what time of day or where it is progressing through the events.
And I assume for people who like it raw, that'll be out later as well.
That's what everybody's pushing for. So,
I don't think that's actually happened yet. But
no, I hope so. That is actually people are I think petitioning. If not, start a petition to from McCarthy to release everything just on the
Get it
internet,
raw, yeah.
wiki style.
yeah, just let it out. Because it would be really cool if like somebody or a group of people would like literally comb through all of it and then like really start to make some connections as to like, okay, so this person who is actually like connected to the people that are actually charged with stuff that are like in prison still to this day, that sort of thing. That okay, so this person literally went from here to here to here to here, and we can trace them through this video, this piece, and then over here in this piece.
Well, I assume at some point it's going to be like Kyle Rittenhouse, where they get all the footage, and people will take it through
and break it all down and follow, each person through. I mean, it would be a project to do because there's a lot of footage and there's a lot of people involved too. There's a lot of people there. So I mean, it'd be cool.
I didn't see the footage or anything. What exactly did it show?
Well,
I did a deep dive with Ryan Dawson and the Holocauster. So I haven't been watching the news as much. I did that, and then we're also having on Tom Luongo, who I didn't know about until Brett talked to me about him. So we're having him on the show, so I've been kind of studying up on him too.
So a lot of the information has already been known if you were willing to look before surface level mainstream media.
What were you saying before? You said we have a lot of new news, but nothing that's really new.
Yeah, it's like everything that we've known for the past 3 years is being proven. With facts.
Yeah, it's like coming out now.
Yeah, and
like,
so they can't. I mean, they keep lying and they keep denying it, but this is only going to last for so long because the truth always defeats the lies. I mean, that's just the way it works. The light always conquers the darkness,
and the truth always reveals itself.
Yep.
Given enough time.
Yep. I mean, who knows how the next
Well, always.
Well, I mean, I'm not.
If
I'm
given
not
enough time,
saying
it
that-
does.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah,
not saying that maybe not always, but I'm not saying that the next chapter will be better than this. I mean, that's up to whoever writes the next chapter to make it better. But
The victors.
the victors. but the reality is like, I mean, we could just be in a. I recently just learning more about like Russian history during the Bolshevik. Thank you. I was going
You
to
almost
that.
screwed me up. I'm like,
The
no, I know
Bolshevik,
this word.
The rise, the
long bingo.
Luongo.
so the Bolshevik, basically the fall of their dynasty. Actually, Michael Nellison's
The White
the White Pill.
Yeah.
And just listening to that whole book and just like hearing like that was an entire basically 80-year turning point of turmoil. And so we could go into something like that where yes, we bring to justice all of these evil people who deserve it, and then we then whoever takes over is just as evil and corrupt, and it's just this grind that's constantly just
trade one master for another.
So I mean, we have every chance to make a horrible mess out of a horrible mess, but also with truth, we do actually have a chance to see justice.
Yeah, see better things come. Yeah, well, I mean, to anybody who was actually paying attention, it wasn't just believing the mainstream narrative like hook, line, and sinker. From the beginning of this January 6th thing, it could see all this coming.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you were paying attention on the day when they were actually like filming the stuff, you could tell that they were obviously like the film cameras, even on like the mainstream television, they were like focusing on the people like climbing through the windows in the Capitol and all that kind of stuff. But you could also see that like there were a lot of people that weren't doing anything like that too, even on the day or like within a couple days of looking at YouTube videos and stuff. So anybody who was actually paying attention and had any sort of like reasonable doubt of the mainstream narrative could see all this coming. I mean,
well, the worst part was just seeing like George Floyd shot during January 6th too.
Yeah.
I mean Ashley Babbitt. I'm sorry. But like you can see the parallel there.
Man,
Like,
let's just can we just take a moment and apologize to the family of Ashley Babbitt? We didn't mean
to correlate those two names.
Yeah.
well, yeah, I'm just saying like if it was like people lost their shit over one.
Yeah.
And burned cities, and then the other one, like a police officer just murdered her in cold blood.
Yeah,
everyone knows that happened,
and she was
no one cares.
And she was actually a
we don't
respected community member.
And we don't even know the cop's name to this day.
Oh, really?
Nope.
Don't even know the cop's
Not that I'm aware of.
Wow.
We also, who
he was
who
never
else's
charged.
names we don't know. The informants.
Oh well, yeah. Except for that one Ray Epps dude.
Yeah.
Like. Who they claim is not an FBI informant, but if you take one look at him and his like forehead screams Fed.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. People were literally calling him a Fed. That's crazy.
On the day.
Yeah. On the day,
Yeah.
like that's a Fed.
Like don't listen to that guy.
Yeah.
And now we're pouring over footage, and we're like, yeah, he's definitely
a Fed.
Yeah.
And the fact that he hasn't been charged or in jail for anything, and he was the one like actually calling for all this stuff on the day, like. Let's storm the Capitol, and like he hasn't seen a day in prison.
Which I gotta admit, like for like
Obviously,
Trumpster type people, like I don't consider them necessarily the brightest. They're probably brighter than NPC, but like to know that he was a Fed is to me kind of surprising. Like I wasn't onto this whole everyone's a Fed in these type of situations until
probably
until
right
after the Twitter files came out. And I was
Yeah.
like, holy cow! It's not like just incentives working together and
like
aligning.
yeah,
It's like no, there's literally just
interest
a Fed
convergence.
sitting behind a desk.
Yeah.
It's like, holy cow!
Well,
Yeah.
we've thought this whole time that the feds all work behind desks in Washington,
Right?
and now it's come out that the feds
or they run around with their badges on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But now
yeah,
it's
you
come
have the
out
two.
that what half the department works undercover, just working subterfuge in the general population.
And
I mean,
then-
it's a huge amount. Like all of these things
Half
that
our
are coming
views
out.
are from Feds, believe it or
Oh,
not.
I'm sure.
Oh.
I wouldn't be surprised if on most nights, like 80% of our views were from.
No, that's right. And then there's like this gray line between, okay, what's the difference between like a federal agent and a federal or like an FBI informant?
Yeah,
I mean,
Right.
there is a difference between those two things, I'm sure.
but at the
But,
end
like,
of the day,
what's
they're
the
both
line,
feds.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, Fed, I think is like, yeah, you're a Fed or whatever. It's like kind of like an all-encompassing.
Yeah,
But it's not just the people that work that like the FBI like signs their salary,
yeah.
signs their paychecks.
Well,
It's all these other people too that like inform that were criminals and then they got flipped,
Yeah, and they talk about with let's just get our channel banned. With like Epstein and like all of the compromising of these high elite officials who have been and are currently in our government and other governments around the world, how they compromise them so they can control them. And like we also know that the government compromises average citizens all the time, and
just like here locally.
yeah, and they compromise them and they say, hey, we've got this on you, but if you do this for us, we're not going to charge you with it.
Oh, yeah.
And
No, like whenever you're like just paging through like the big top stories of these big bad criminals or whatever, and then you look at like what they get charged with, and then what their sentence ends up being. It's like, wow, that wasn't a very bad hard sentence, for what they were supposedly doing or whatever. Well, it's because they took a plea deal.
Yep.
And they turned in somebody else.
Yep.
They turned them into an asset, and that's just what these people do.
We were talking about this on the after show last week, but there was
That wasn't around, so I didn't hear it. Obviously.
no one did because you have to be a Patreon member.
Oh.
And we have to create a Patreon.
we have a lot of work to do before you can hear the after show.
But I, for whatever reason, I'm blanking on his name. He was in Reno. He had like a pound of weed with him. He was a presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party at one point.
Not like this past time or what?
No, I think it was this past time.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. And he was also, I think he ran the time before that too. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But like he had like a whole bunch of drug charges that just suddenly got dropped, and he disappeared for a year or two, and then he comes back and he's just attacking like Dave Smith and all these libertarians and stuff, and we all still love him and just assumed he was completely lost his mind and kind of insane, and so we actually treated him pretty respectfully. But
In Reno, you mean?
no, just in general.
Oh,
Like,
just
he's
in
been
general.
he's been on podcasts where people just did not agree with him, but they were just still respectful.
They were like, they weren't calling him a Fed.
we
like
assume
he
there's
is.
some mental illness there or something like that, but it's also like he's probably compromised.
yeah,
Probably.
No,
Well,
yeah, when people walk free after committing a crime, it's like our government isn't gracious. Our government isn't a government that has
No.
mercy and grace and grace with people. So it's like,
No.
so if people walk free from our government, it means the government got something out of it.
No, because there are other people that they literally throw the book at.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're not worth anything, if they don't know anybody and can't flip anybody else, or if they have no value to the system, well, then they're going to throw the book at you.
Yep.
Because then they can make money off of you while you're in prison for 50 years.
Yep.
Feeding that prison system that we've got. So,
oh,
Yep.
anyway.
Yep,
another name I
turns out-
forgot. The guy who was compromised because he was on a website with a 15-year-old. So it was actually
Oh, you mean Scott?
yeah, Scott Ritter, exactly. Yeah. So he was on a website with an adult woman who said, she was 15 at one point, and he masturbated apparently to it, and then I don't know. It was a whole ordeal.
It was a chat room. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a whole ordeal. he might have been guilty. I don't know how that all shakes out, but it's like the fact that he wasn't didn't allow that to like change his position on all these things, and he's still
Well, he
extremely
went to
vocal
prison.
anti-war.
He
Yeah,
went to prison for years
yeah,
because of it. There might have been two
but it's
different
like
things. I read his Wikipedia page, so like, take that with a grain of salt, right?
I honestly didn't dig into it that far because it's
I
not
did.
interesting to me. If you did, yeah.
I read his Wikipedia and I read some other stuff, and it just seems to me like if you were a kind of a normie boomer con, you'd be like, oh man, that guy needs to be in prison forever. Like, oh, he's terrible. Blah, blah, blah. But then when you realize, like, no, there's actually no crime that was committed here because they were all consenting adults, and even though this
said they were
police woman actually said he or she might have been a policeman, who knows, right? Said he or she was 15 years old. He wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no victim there.
Yeah.
Not really.
But there was 2 times. So what were they both?
They were both like super similar. It was like
really?
the same deal.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
like not a big deal between the two. So like when you think about it that way, then you're just like, well, okay, yeah, maybe the guy doesn't like have doesn't share morals like I do. Doesn't share my morals when it comes to that. Maybe he made some mistakes, went down a bad path, whatever.
Yeah.
Let himself get out of control for a little bit. Maybe he would never do anything like that again. I have no idea, no way to judge, but it's just like.
But I mean, to allow
pretty minor.
But to
really.
allow to have that happen to you and not just suddenly turn into a Fed, like he could have.
Oh, sure.
He could have just got his life back if he just went back to the.
Well,
narrative.
maybe
he was a valuable asset to them and everything.
Well, maybe
they could have flipped him.
Well,
I mean, they couldn't have flipped him.
Actually,
but I'm sure they tried.
No, I don't know if he had much value to them anymore, honestly, because I listened to him on.
They could have at least silenced him.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I listened to him on Scott Horton's podcast, I think.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he was speaking out against them at that point. I don't think he was an asset for them anymore, other than maybe trying to buy his silence is what that was all about. I don't think that they were trying to be like, hey, clean yourself up a little bit, do your time so you can get like back on the military payroll or something.
Oh, no.
I mean, they were just trying to shut him up.
Yeah.
It was
all about shutting him up.
Yeah. Because, I mean, this, and who knows, he probably maybe was like going to this chat room or whatever, and maybe on the regular, and talking to other people that weren't feds, and then it was like, oh, I bet we can get him on a technicality here.
Yeah.
If we sneak this person in, and then they say the right thing.
Yeah.
One time, and then gotcha.
But can you imagine being slapped with something like that and not just shutting up, or like not just like I'm sure there was
he's making himself a target again.
He saw a fork in the road, and he could have taken the easy way and not done that. So
and maybe that wouldn't have like shortened his sentence or anything like that too.
Yeah, I mean, it got brought up again when he started doing more with Iraq.
Oh, well, for sure.
What's next on the docket?
Look down there.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
I want to talk about Malice.
Well, I just listened to Malice on Rogan just today, so I'm kind of hot on the topic, I guess. I thought it was pretty good.
Just need some water.
Some water. I thought it was pretty good. He did a really good job.
That's so funny. You said he felt like he bombed. I haven't listened to it yet, but you said he felt. Well, I started, but you said he felt like he bombed when he brought out the puppet for Tom Woods 2000. And so he told everyone for weeks, maybe even months, that there's some big, huge guests coming on the show.
Oh, he talked up the 2000 episode. Like there's going to be this fantastic guest. He has something really awesome planned for us. And then then I think it was like, oh, Michael Malice is going to be there within like a day or two ahead of time. They're like, Michael Malice is going to be my special guest. Everybody's like all super excited about it.
And then he just brought out a dummy with a mask on.
Yeah, I was like, because I was actually listening to it. I was actually plowing a field when I was listening to that thing. And I was listening to it on Apple Podcasts because there's
again keeping in line with their theme.
Yeah. And anyway, I had to switch over to YouTube because I was like, wait, what's going on here? Because like it sounded weird to me because he was like, this is not flowing as well as I was expecting it to. Maybe it's lacking something. Maybe I need the video. So I switched over to the YouTube video, and then he was like Mouse was like wearing a mask. I was like, wait, what's going on here? I was like really confused, and it was like so cringy too. It was so bad.
I thought that's kind of.
But then
I thought that was kind of like the whole point, to get people's hopes so high up and then just completely dash them.
And I thought about that too while it was happening. I'm like, wait, okay, am I the idiot for missing like the fantastic like comedy?
Everyone thought it was going to be
Ron Paul.
No,
I thought it was going to be Ron Paul.
Alex Jones is the biggest one.
Oh, Alex Jones. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was going to be Ron. He was going to have Ron Paul there, which would have been pretty cool. But I was just like, okay, either I'm missing something or this is not going the way that Malice really wanted it to. And so Wednesday, Malice was on Rogan, and right at the end of his podcast, he was talking about how he bombed like hardcore on Tom Woods' 2000 podcast, which is actually another funny thing. He actually said, so I've been hoping that Tom Woods would get on Joe Rogan at some point and talk about
it's weird he hasn't been on some of these bigger shows, because I think he's at the level of like Dave Smith and
Michael he's like definitely is good.
All these other people
for sure. Like
even Bob Murphy's been on more shows, bigger shows than him.
Yeah, which I would take Tom Woods over Bob Murphy.
Right.
Just
I was thinking too,
content wise.
If I had to have someone on to do a debate on like libertarianism, I would probably Tom Woods would be at the top, I would say.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, me too. Like just
above like solid. Dave Smith, Clint Russell.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like solid, like I've listened to some of my like foundational things that I've listened to actually are like I just like type in the Google like into YouTube or whatever. Tom Woods libertarianism. And then it'll be like one of his like just a speech that he gives
My
in some
message
place.
to libertarians. It's a good one.
Yeah, I think I've listened to that one.
Yep.
So it's like, I mean, he has a good way of breaking everything down, and he has, obviously the wealth of knowledge too. But anyway, I've been hoping that Tom Woods would get on Joe Rogan at some point. Maybe talk about like jury nullification, because nobody knows what the hell jury nullification is in this country. Because as soon as you
get jury nullification mainstream,
oh my goodness,
that would change everything.
It would change everything. And that's the thing is like
I don't know, because if you watch the trials, and I've only like watched the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, but they don't really give you much to go on to like decide.
That's what I'm saying. I was just literally gonna say that.
Yeah.
So if you're on a jury,
as the jury,
but you don't know anything.
It is beyond a reasonable doubt. You convict beyond a reasonable doubt, and it's in a sense up to beyond a reasonable doubt. So if you don't know anything, then you have a reasonable doubt, which means you should nullify.
And here's the other thing:
it doesn't mean you have to be. It doesn't mean you have to be given not guilty. If you don't know, you can just nullify everything and be like, we
don't agree, and then they can either like
throw it out,
retry, do
but
whatever.
If they get a retrial, maybe it'll be a more fair trial, and if it's not, hopefully the next jury is smart enough to nullify again.
That's true.
I mean, jury nullification is our constitutional right as citizens to rein in these extreme powers, and it is one right that cannot.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, Judge Napolitano talks about a really famous case that happened that nobody knows about anymore, way back in James Madison's presidency back. What would that be? The very late 1700s. Early 1800s, because he was after Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson. Early 1800s, right after Thomas Jefferson.
Did you know?
No, I didn't know.
Anyway, and it was talking about how there was a during the War of 1812 there was a just an American guy that like a mayor of a town or something that like organized a ceasefire with the British or something to keep his town from getting destroyed, and then afterwards James Madison and his Justice Department like brought charges against this mayor or whatever for aiding and abetting the enemy during the War of 1812, and basically the jury said no, we ain't doing it, we ain't convicting him, so then he walked free.
Yep.
And I mean, which is crazy because James Madison, the crazy part of the story is, of course, is like how power corrupts too, because like James Madison was the guy that like wrote the Constitution. He like wrote like the 4th or 5th Amendment.
Yeah.
Like he wrote all those amendments and stuff. And he's like this pro-liberty guy that is like, you know, like one of our founding fathers, the author of the Constitution, all this kind of stuff. And then as soon as he gets into the presidency, he's like bringing charges against people like unlawfully, basically. And it was just like
The
jury wouldn't do it.
Constitution was a coup on the Articles of Confederation.
Well, it actually was.
Maybe that played into it. I
But
don't know.
anyway, what I was going to say about jury nullification, though, to get back to that, and the reason I want Tom Woods to like talk about it a little bit is because I was on a jury a couple years ago here right in town or whatever, and the judge, I felt, was like pressuring us, not me.
No.
Was like kind of like bullying the jury a little bit is what I felt like. And because he was like, here is your responsibilities as a juror, you know, as a jury, these are your responsibilities and blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, if you find that the defendant, good Lord, if you find that the defendant broke the law, then you must find him guilty.
Interesting.
Judges all across the board are trained to do that. Like
Yep.
that's, I mean, I don't know if that's part of their bar schooling or what, but they're trained to do that.
Well, I mean,
because,
they're just lawyers.
yeah,
all they are.
because they're
lawyers.
essentially they want to force a verdict. They
want verdicts in
Yeah.
their courtroom.
Yeah.
and so the reality is that people don't realize it, but if there were fair trials, like nobody gets a fair trial. If you had
No.
a fair trial in front of a jury, the judge would say, these are your constitutional rights. You have the constitutional right to ask to see more evidence if you think evidence is being withheld, and you
Or
think
if the
you're
picture is not clear.
yeah, if the picture's not clear, you have the right to ask for more for the prosecutor or defendant to more clearly present their evidence. You also have a right as the defendant to or as a jury to nullify if you feel like anything is going wrong, and people don't know their rights.
No.
And so
the judge never said anything of that to us.
And my you both know that my mom went to jail for keeping her cafe open during the COVID lockdown, and
Yes,
during
did.
that trial, the judge actually said to the juries during the before he sent them away to deliberate, he said, if you come back with a not guilty verdict, I may choose to change that to a guilty verdict, which is completely unconstitutional because a jury verdict always overrules a judge's verdict, not in the inverse. It can't be the inverse. That is completely unconstitutional. Except he told that, and if you don't,
he can say anything though.
I know that's
and so
exactly
he pressured
it.
the jury.
That's exactly it. So
That
he
son of a
pressured it. He
bitch.
pressured the jury. So he didn't break the law, but he implied that he would, and scared the jury into.
Because the jury doesn't know anything.
The jury doesn't know anything, and the jury, in fact, at one point asked to see the statutes that were broken because they weren't statutes. It was a mandate. It was an unlawful mandate, and so they asked to see the statutes that were broken.
There weren't any.
And he said, I will tell you how to interpret the law.
Yeah.
And I will tell you how the law is interpreted, and you will give your verdict.
And that's
based
exactly
on
what
that.
our judge said to us.
And it's this insanity that there is no such thing as a fair trial.
No,
The juries are completely pressured into it, and that's where if people would just be educated outside of the courtroom on how to conduct themselves,
because that's what they
within
do.
The courtroom.
They walk in there like a dumb sheep, and believe me, I was one of those
Yep.
people 4 years ago, whatever. When I was a juror, I didn't know jack shit. I mean, actually,
Who does? Like that, unless you
now
are in a situation that
Unless
requires
you watch
to
our
learn.
show. I mean,
now, well, you're learning something, right? I mean, that's the thing is like, if I feel like I would be such a better juror now than I was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be on a jury. I don't think it'll ever happen. But
And I was almost on a criminal trial, which I probably would have found him guilty because I was in on like jury selection for that one, and I could just tell the guy was a piece of shit.
Nice.
And so that one probably wouldn't have been a good one for me to practice my
I've
jury
kind of just
nullification.
decided that no matter what, I'm just going to say innocent. Because the odds are they're just
And
putting
then
another person in jail for no reason. But yet
you don't know. You have to
don't know
listen to
it
the evidence
absolutely,
because
I
there
suppose.
absolutely are criminals out there that hurt people
is
and
true.
deserve prison.
No,
Yeah.
That's I mean, so you can't just you don't want to go into it like with your mind already made up. But
if I wanted to get off the jury, I would literally just wear a shirt that said not guilty.
oh yeah, for sure. No,
But that's the thing. That's what people don't understand is
Yeah,
you
you
can
don't
literally call a court anywhere. You can call up a court and you can say if courts didn't exist as physical buildings, you could still call up a court and you could say, I find this person has broken the law and I have gathered a grand jury to indict them. And so that means you've gathered 25 people together and you've said you presented your evidence to them and you've said, they've done me wrong. Do you agree with me? And if those 25 people agree with you, they'll indict them, which is to bring them before the court of law. And so different states have set up different statutes for how to act, but our law is based on common law, which means that with common law, well, I mean, you have to go back further than that. And
So is this pre-constitution? Is this like pre-constitution kind of stuff?
It's pre-constitution.
I will say, like the common law people.
It's based on the Magna Carta, is what it's
exactly. So it goes back to
like the 1100s
and what you have to understand with that. And I'm not getting into the common law or anything like that. But hold on. What you have to understand with that is going back to Magna Carta. Magna Carta gave rights that are now inherently passed through the evolution to our Constitution references those rights.
Right.
And so we have the right to call up a law. We also have the right to defend ourselves, and we have the right to have a jury of 12 of our peers.
Well, just like Ryan Dawson talks about, like there's this issue, and then there's the narrative, right, which most people know is false if you in our world, and then there's the kooks. And I think with a lot of common law stuff, there's definitely this kook side of it, where it's just like,
oh, you're talking about like,
there's these common law people that are like, I'm just going to go to
sovereign
court.
citizens.
Yeah, that type of stuff.
Yeah. No, that's kooky.
It's nuts. It's completely nuts. But but the common law in terms of just like the theory of how to have a court system and how like just in terms of pure theory, like it's amazing.
And that's all it is. And so you just need a basic you don't need to go learn common law. You just need a basic understanding of the rights that you have as a human being under the common law system. And that is that you have a right to hold your neighbor accountable for offenses they've carried out towards you in front of a jury of your peers. And you also have the right to defend yourself from being held to unreal standards or whatever, or fake law. You have a right to defend yourself in a court of law. Those are both, and that was if people will look at the history as where the Magna Carta came from, like this was based off the government, basically, a king oppressing his people, and so they were saying we want
King
the
John,
right,
actually, of a Robin Hood era.
And it's not about holding our neighbors accountable; it's about holding him accountable to them. And so that's what the Magna Carta was. And so when you talk about like common law and about what rights we have, it's about holding our government accountable to us.
Yeah,
and that's where it really gets out of hand, is these judges think they're above the law, but actually we do have the right. Things are so broken, but we have the right to hold this broken system accountable.
Absolutely. I listened to it on the YouTube stream.
All right, yeah. We put the computer over here. Now I just want to bring up a couple of these. Look to your left, look to your right. One of those people will be a Fed. Accurate.
Well, I only have someone on my right. So.
I have. Oh, that means one of you two are Feds, not me. I'm out.
It says read Bruce Benson for historical common law scholarship.
All right,
check that out.
Bruce Benson. Check
Also
that out.
private legal enforcement. See, that's actually a big gap in my like libertarian.
Bruce Benson.
You're right, found that. That's actually a big gap in like my libertarian understanding. It's like how
well, I've been working on it a little bit.
How courts would work and all that.
And you don't even have to understand like the inner workings. Like some of that I think is cool to understand how historically how things have worked, but
just how it could work.
Yeah, but you have to understand how it did work at different points of history to understand what people fought for, what rights were granted, usually with much bloodshed. I mean, rights are always granted after a lot of bloodshed.
You got to water that tree of
liberty.
Yeah. And
Bloods of patriots and tyrants.
Yep. And so we need to know that, because otherwise more blood will have to be spilled for those same
As
rights.
Thomas Jefferson For all you vets out there, not
Yeah.
me. I didn't say that. It's Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah. And so we need
I
to.
was just reading them.
He's on the freaking nickel, all right.
Yeah. but no, it's just really interesting looking at all of that, because there's so much that you can go into the weeds for sure, but just having a basic understanding of where these rights originate gives you a lot more understanding of what rights we have, and that those rights are innate. Those rights are not given to us by our government. Those rights were fought and bled for hundreds of years ago. Those are our rights. They were given to us by God, but we've inherited them from our ancestors, defending them.
One thing I wanted to do is have David Benner on
That's good.
and do Anatomy of a Revolution. I think we were going to do either the Russian Revolution or the French Revolution, but it'd be interesting
Both
to
are
go.
very fascinating.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to go through, and I don't know if we'll have time to do this ever, but it'd be interesting to go through all the different revolutions and see like how they worked, what was good, what was bad, like how
They got him like off the ground, kind of deal too.
yeah, just the anatomy of it, because it's like is violence, like if we were to say revolt, us being rights-bearing citizens against their government, it would be completely justified, right?
Yeah,
but would it be strategically to our advantage?
Probably not.
That's where it kind of comes into like how does this all work? How would you do that? Like, because we'll say 1776. Well, that was good because we fought off the Brits and all this stuff. That was a lot of violence.
That's true. The Brits also let us go in 1776 because they were busy off doing a lot of other stuff in those years.
Well, but we had to fight them for that.
Well, they did. We did. We absolutely did fight.
It is funny though. I was.
They never intended to let us go. They always intended to come back and take us over. I mean, that's what.
Okay.
Oh, really?
All right. Let's keep like the tinfoil hat stuff out of it completely, right? No.
Well, and I'm not saying that, but we fought another war against the Brits later on.
No. Theories are real.
Yeah, I know the War of 1812. What I'm saying is they didn't commit like
no, and I agree,
but
with
a
you.
small percentage of their military ability here in North America in the war of the Revolutionary War. So like for us to sit here and say, yeah, we beat Brits. Well, I mean, like kind of like they basically were like, yeah, screw it, it ain't worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I like I was watching a YouTube video about the American Revolution or the American War of Independence from perspective of like British in school. And
I bet we've seen the same video.
It's just like a footnote. It's like this country left, and then this country left, and then this country left.
Yeah.
And this country left. We're all like, big deal. We fought off Britain.
They came. We shot.
They're just like, yeah, and that's when those people left. Those people left.
Well, had America even started realizing its potential, they never would have let us go. If they realized what America had as far as resources and what was available to them, had they developed it.
I don't know if America would have developed the same way underneath British rule.
It probably wouldn't have. But where it's like
we
later
reached our
on,
potential because of the laissez-faire system that we had for the first 100 years.
But we are the only really geological, maybe not the only, but we're one of the only places on Earth. I mean, it's a huge area, and it's only because we're the United States. If we weren't, it wouldn't be the same. But because we're the United States, we have everything that we need within the 48 United States to be completely self-sustaining.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
So that
we couldn't thrive and do that.
I'm not saying we could thrive, but I'm just saying that means I'm just saying the resource pool here is so diverse that
the United States won the freaking lottery when it came to geography.
Yeah.
Geography wise, there's no place better on Earth than the United States.
Really?
Yep.
It's such a diverse even ecosystem, ecological,
and we have the access, like perfect access to both of the world's biggest ocean, or like two of the three biggest oceans.
You don't have. We'll go through that a little bit.
And like the natural resources we have here. I mean, there's more oil in the United States than anywhere.
Yeah.
Pre-Biden.
Well, oh no, it's still there. We just aren't allowed to get it.
Have you seen that meme where they shut down the pipeline and it's like instead of the oil pipeline, it's just trucks going back and forth?
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, for sure.
I know.
Okay, so anyway, we got way off on this tangent about common law, and jury nullification. What I was trying to drive at was about, I mean,
yeah.
to bring it back to a
Tabloids
much
and
more, you know, mellow topic, I guess, is Malice on Rogan. So
We're going back.
yeah. No, because I want to finish something
Oh,
because
okay.
it was funny. So he's on there talking about Tom Woods' 2000th episode. But what he did was talking about how he bombed and all this kind of stuff. But inadvertently, he said Tom Woods' 200th episode.
Oh, okay.
Episode. So then, as soon as he said that, Joe was just like, "Oh, that's not impressive at all." Like,
Well, he said Rippaverse raised like something crazy, something. He's like, I can't remember, like $100,000, and then Rippaverse is like $3 million. You were off by
like 3, yeah, like a whole
which
order of
I don't even
magnitude
blame
times
Malice.
3.
It's like,
Who can keep all the information, right?
well, no, it's just like that's a crazy number, and when you're on a big show like that, like you don't want to say 3 million because
And
it
if it's
sounds
not,
ridiculous.
Yeah, but no, like
But
that's
it's ridiculous. It's like, how did he do that?
But I'm like, I've been like waiting for somebody to like on the Joe Rogan Experience to like mention Tom Woods and like to open up that
Right.
possible, you know, direction that the universe could go in. And then Michael Malice blows it and says 200th episode, like just a couple months ago.
Dave Smith got Michael Malice on the Joe Rogan show originally,
I know.
so it's like they just need to bring their third
there's
friend,
also
friend on.
the Malice Alex Jones connection too, though.
What do you mean?
Because Malice knows Alex Jones.
Yeah.
And Alex Jones and Joe Rogan are good buddies too.
Well, I think that was pre. I don't think Malice and Alex Jones knew each other before the Tim Pool episodes.
No, I think they did.
You think so?
I think so.
It's possible.
I think so. Don't quote me on that.
I won't.
We're getting off in the weeds on the the podcaster lore, the libertarian podcaster lore, which is very specific, specific thing. But anyway, I was just like, come on, no, it's 2,000 episodes. That's like sounds like because as soon as he said that, Joe was just like, I mean, he didn't say anything.
The reason why is because Michael Malice is a Fed.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, he is controlled opposition. So
You think so?
No.
No. Okay. Good.
No.
There's a.
No, he talks about that on the Rogan show that he just did on Wednesday too, about how people are saying that Michael Malice is a Fed and how he's like just controlled up. Yeah, they talk about that too, actually.
He has had some bad takes on
He's
war,
had some bad takes,
but it's like, come on, like
we can't all be
Well,
perfect.
I have bad takes from time to time. We all do.
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
it's like, so you got to give people an occasional pass.
well, and it's not even. He
As
also
long as they're-
apologized for his bad takes.
Yeah,
so it's kinda
especially,
like,
yeah.
I don't know, man.
And that's the thing. It's like if you're open to changing your opinions and you're open to new information, it's like if people are going to evolve, and not everybody is at the same level. So
Well, and I always talk about
I can't think it's the right word, but you know, the impressiveness of Michael Malice can't be perfect all the time.
Well, and two, it's like keeping your main. If your main thing is being anti-war and you suck on something that's anti-war, like Tulsi Gabbard, it's like, I'm done. You're done. Get out.
Yeah.
But it's like if
you don't get the
if you're
main
Michael
thing, the main
Malice
thing,
and your main thing is you're an anarchist and you know
you don't like the cops,
yeah,
and you're a troll on Twitter,
and a lot of like theory and that type
Yeah.
of thing, and you get a bad war take, it's like, well, that's not your thing.
Yeah.
Or even Jordan Peterson, if he has bad political takes, you kind of understand. Although his are so bad,
they're really bad.
they are. He's another guy that's like, you're definitely compromised, dude.
Yeah.
I can see it.
This is what I think with, not to get too off in the weeds, but this is what I think about Jordan Peterson.
He got hooked on drugs and he got caught. Yeah, I know.
I know. No, I think he's
I don't think he's any like legal
He's
problems.
a Canadian
that-
who wants to regime change in Iran after joining the Daily Wire.
Yeah, but that seems pretty like a normal take
So-
for a boomer, though.
Okay, but
No.
hold on.
Yes.
On. So,
No, like
Yes.
that's a
So-
NPC take.
so I don't really care about his political
Most boomers
takes, though.
are NPCs, by the way.
That's the thing. It's like
yeah.
he's stepping outside, like you said, he's stepping outside
Oh
of
no,
where he
he's
should be talking
way
about.
outside.
I
of
don't
his,
care about his
so.
political takes. I never got into him for his political takes.
Well, no, me neither.
I appreciated that he was encouraging people my age and younger to get their
Act
damn
together.
lives together.
Yep.
And make their bed, clean up their room.
Yeah,
Like
he
that.
needs to
That's
start
what
with his room.
That's yeah. But it's like and so I would say he hasn't gone up or down at all on what I think of him, because I have never cared about his political takes. It's always been,
well, obviously, no. See, like, yeah, exactly, because like his political takes are all they've always been
bad.
He's a freaking Canadian, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
I mean,
what was his previous bad?
I mean, other than free speech, he's good on free speech.
No, he's a super liberal.
But everything else he's really bad on. He just has bad.
No, he's like universal health care, for heaven's sake. I mean,
he always wanted universal health care.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's a Canadian.
All right.
Yep. So I mean, he's just he's got bad political takes, and I think
and like economically.
I think people are wrong to judge people based on politics if that's not where they're coming from. I think like for instance,
I mean, it wasn't a complete side note. Like it was a tweet and it was a big
no. I mean, I get it, but he's obviously way outside of his like.
Well, and it's like Thomas Sowell says, I don't blame. I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, I don't blame anyone for not understanding economics. But if you don't understand economics, don't talk like you understand economics.
Yeah.
And
I think
when it comes to war, like we should not casually, like there's no excuse for casually.
And I get what you're saying. But I think that.
But to be fair, Michael Malice did something similar. So
I'm not saying that he doesn't have some responsibility being in his position with his influence.
To be careful.
But I think that's a damn trap to say people have a responsibility with their position, to say it. I think we need to have responsibility as individuals, understanding who we're listening to, and being like it's completely a trap that everybody gets caught into, and it's the left is the one who set the trap. The left creates the trap. They put it there, and that trap
what trap?
It's the trap of automatically dismissing anybody who has something you disagree with. It's the
I'm not dismissing the stuff he's good on. I'm dismissing him as a person.
Well,
in the sense,
but that's
in the sense that like I no longer hold this person in high esteem.
And that's fair. But what I'm saying is the trap is making everything political.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
and yes,
but everything is political.
He's fallen into it also. By getting involved in political, and
that's
so
true.
I'm not disagreeing with you on your opinion. I'm just saying I never valued him for the political, and because I, as a independent individual, can choose what I'm going to consume from different people. I may listen to him on his clean up your room, make your bed, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then just always dismiss everything he says politically because I can process the difference, and I think it's okay to make those differentiations.
And we don't know the end of the story either. I mean, this could be the first step in the right direction for him, or not. I mean, it could go in the wrong direction for him too. He could get further down this this warmongering trail. But I mean, we don't know. So I think it's always
involved with the Daily Wire, which means that politics is going to bubble up to the surface automatically.
For sure. Yeah, I don't really see how that was like not a match made in heaven. From
it was kind of weird.
See. It was that one caught me off guard a little bit because I was like, I did not see that one coming.
At first, I thought
What'd you say?
I did not see this whole Daily Wire connection. I did not see that one coming. Like I don't see, sometimes you like take a look at two people or an organization and a person or two different organizations, be like, those people would be like perfect if they worked together. Jordan Peterson, the Daily Wire, I did not see.
Yeah, JC says, I have a messy room, but no benzo addiction. Here's the real winner here.
I was just joking because you keep saying Nazi.
Who does?
You do. You keep saying, I did not see that coming.
I did not see that coming.
You totally went
over
my head.
Well, it went over my head, too. It plays on multiple levels to this podcast does.
If you click on that again, that'll hide it.
Oh, gotcha. I'm learning.
I don't know. I mean, the stuff that I like Jordan Peterson on, this is back in the day.
I just like his voice.
I mean, it's fantastic.
He has a great voice.
He taught me a lot about
to listen to.
You think so? Yeah.
Postmodernism and the connection to like Marxism, the neo-Marxism stuff, and then like he really like helped me open my eyes to what like the postmodernism that has like already permeated our society.
According to Thaddeus Russell, he doesn't really understand postmodernism.
Well, of course, of course, there's going to be somebody that says he doesn't really understand.
Thaddeus is kind of crazy.
Well, Thaddeus is also probably a postmodernist, so he's going to defend postmodernism
He is.
as much as he can. So, but see,
I'm a nihilist, but it doesn't really matter. Just
yeah, right. You don't speak with a heavy enough German accent to be a nihilist. You need to work on that a little bit.
I am in the Libertarian Party nihilist caucus, and anytime anyone talks about nihilist or caucuses, I just say I'm in the Libertarian Party nihilist caucus. Not that it matters.
Not that it matters.
Not that it matters.
He's talking a lot about caucuses, but you're kind of just letting it all run together. And I'm just thinking, you're really trying to promote the title of the show, aren't you?
I am, yeah. Picked up on the caucus.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God. Oh, you guys.
No, I was gonna say, if I can catch my train of thought before I completely lose it. What were we just talking about? Jordan Peterson.
Yep.
The other thing I was just gonna say, as you were talking about, like some of the good things that he has said, like, and not to build more, not to come to his defense anymore, but just kind of looking at, I don't necessarily think he was compromised by the feds. I think it's just as likely he was compromised by the Daily Wire and the paycheck.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is compromised by the feds. Because I know, because we
So-
talked about this, they're promoting YouTube censorship,
Yeah, and
censorship
so-
all that stuff.
Yeah, but so it's compromised, but he's not directly
That's an
compromised by the feds.
I'll make it.
And that's fine. You can make it.
So, yeah,
I won't
okay, this is
necessarily
getting
fight
into the
against it.
weeds.
It's an argument.
Yeah, but okay, so but
Quick recap though. They said with the YouTube thing and all that stuff, they said, oh, it's just a
You're talking about the Crowder thing?
yeah, they said it wasn't a contract, it was a
term sheet.
term sheet. It's like, okay, yeah, but you're sending millions of dollars term sheet and you just like hit control print and send it to them, or like it doesn't make any sense. Like
That is
Yeah.
true.
you're going for a big whale of a person. They meticulously went through
Well,
that. You know they
Absolutely,
did.
They did, and then they talked with their
And they-
their creative
put in their
writing team, and they
priorities.
said, how do we cover for this, because this is a huge publicity negative thing.
But they put in their priorities and what they wanted, and one at the top of the list was
And you-
making sure.
This
That
is
he
a
didn't get
media
demonetized.
company, so everything they did to cover is a cover. You have to understand that anytime it's a media company, and everything that
Yeah.
Crowder did, you have to understand he's a media personality, so he played it fully to the viewer's emotions.
Yeah,
I'm not
for sure.
necessarily
Not
a
saying he
Crowder
was
fan.
right
I'm
or
just,
wrong.
No.
but
you know, he's right because Jeremy covered it and Crowder covered it, and like you could see where the stories collided and agreed.
Yeah.
No, right. No.
We
I
did
get
have a
that.
whole episode
Which
on it.
we did.
By the
Awesome.
way, did you
Which
guys
is
see
awesome,
that
by the
he's
way.
now on Rumble?
Who?
Crowder is officially with Rumble.
Yeah.
So there's a little plug for Crowder
Wait.
who needs no plug.
Wait, wasn't he was on Rumble beforehand though, wasn't he?
He is now officially
Oh.
with Rumble in the same capacity that
Okay.
Stay Free with Russell Brand is.
And I could
Oh.
be wrong, but I
That's-
think the
Russell
Daily
Brand's
Wire,
been killing it
Yeah,
lately.
he has.
I think the Daily Wire over that whole controversy started going on Rumble. I'm pretty sure.
No way.
So
Yeah.
probably. But see,
Rumble's,
the Daily
rolling.
Wire.
Yeah, so I
The
really
Daily
like
Wire is a
Odyssey.
media company.
I like Odyssey better too, but
Odyssey is a great concept, and like they're a better
Sorry.
company in that
No,
sense.
you're
But like YouTube is the best. Rumble is the second best as far as user ability.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I like some of the content on Odyssey a little bit better. Odyssey's a little bit like
well, Rumble and Odyssey, there's no history, so I can't go history and go back to what I was listening to.
Right.
If you go back into the YouTube video, it just starts you at the beginning, so you have to remember where you were at.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do like Rumble that doesn't have the algorithm recommendations that suck if you're just listening to YouTube for podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it just shows you what you subscribe to on Rumble, which is nice. It's
Yeah.
like, oh,
this
that's
is
what
it.
a normal
That's-
normally should be.
It's kind of like
It doesn't show
if
you like
guys
Minecraft
remember,
videos or something randomly.
Well, on
It's like if
YouTube-
you guys remember Facebook in the early days, all you saw was just what your friends said because that's all you wanted to see. And then it's like
Well,
Now
it
it's
used to
like
be on
these tech
YouTube.
companies always give us what they want us
now
to
it's like
see.
co- commercials all the time.
Yep.
On YouTube, it'll recommend like this guy played piano made of hammers, blah blah blah, and it's like I don't want to click on that, even though I want to watch it because now it'll be in the algorithms and it'll recommend me all that crap.
You should see my YouTube. It's like, it's not
I know.
good.
Which, by the way, that was a hilarious video. It was worth watching, even though.
I hate the algorithms on YouTube because I'm always breaking them. So basically, I only use subscriptions for following like people that I go to my subscriptions.
Right.
Oh, that's probably
Like,
smart. I could
but
probably
yeah,
do
I'm
that.
like, okay, who do I want to watch? let's go and find something with Joe Rogan. We'll watch a few clips and find a good one, and then jump in and watch the whole episode or whatever. Because I don't have time to listen to every single Joe Rogan episode.
I listen to a lot of them. I only listen to the ones that like think I'm gonna enjoy or whatever. Like I don't listen to like his MMA ones or anything, or all his comedian ones. I'm like, no, I don't have time for all that.
Yeah, I probably listen to 1 out of
I listen to
10 or 1 out of.
I probably a little bit more.
I haven't listened to him in a long time, actually.
It's a commitment.
Well, actually, since starting this podcast, I've been like doing deep dives and like
On
guests
other
we're gonna
stuff,
have
yeah.
on and stuff like that too. So which is really interesting.
All
And
we have to
Brett-
do is have Joe Rogan on, and you'll do a deep dive into him.
Brett, though, he's like a genius on like all the conspiracy stuff. So he's turning me on to like all that stuff, which is super interesting.
Yeah, he's gone.
I don't know if I
deep on a
mentioned
few
this
things.
at the beginning of the show, but if you subscribe to Ryan Dawson's Holocaumania on Telegram,
Okay, say that word again.
Holocaumania,
Holocaumania. Okay.
which is about something that sounds kind of similar.
Yep.
Fantastic, very interesting. You'd be surprised
On Telegram.
if you're talking about like something that's in this tiny crack of the internet that's not banned, like super banned stuff. You think it'd be like crappy video and all that stuff, but it's actually some solid documentaries. So,
Okay.
which is
Check
crazy.
it out.
Interesting.
Anyway, well,
I guess that's about all the time we have for this show.
I-
I'm just kidding. I don't know where we're at.
well, we've been going for
What's
about
the-
an hour.
Yeah, not quite an hour. 56 minutes.
56 minutes.
What-
we can
what's
make
the
it 4 more
next-
minutes.
What's that next topic? We've been talking about the Fed.
Nord Stream pipeline, or
Oh yeah. we
See,
had
that's
that.
another news item that's not news.
Yeah.
Like we already knew all that happened and whatnot.
well,
is interesting.
it is interesting now that there's two competing narratives.
Yep.
What are the competing narratives?
Okay, so Seymour Hersh, like 3 or 4 weeks ago or whatever, something like that, released his piece saying that the United States was the one in a combination of the United States and the Norwegian Navy during some naval exercises in the Baltic Sea back in like June of 2022. They're the ones that placed the explosives on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which then they could remote detonate them at any time, which then they did in September. I think it was late September when they actually
That
blew
is
up,
interesting.
early
Yeah,
October.
I didn't realize that.
So that's so Seymour Hersh, if nobody knows,
Very,
is
very respected.
very respectable journalist. Used to write for the New York Times.
Okay.
Like
And he was
the New York
he's an old
Times.
school journalist who he verifies every source. He doesn't release a thing without having
Yeah.
verification.
So
Okay.
so Seymour Hersh is actually like he cut his teeth at the New York Times. That's like his newspaper back in the day. He's also the journalist who
Not
broke.
selling them very well. But
Yeah, yeah.
Well, back in the time,
Back
it was
in the day,
a reputable, more reputable.
When
paper.
I'm saying
Well,
back in the day, I'm talking like the 60s and 70s.
It was good in the 60s and the 70s.
Oh, well, certainly not. I mean, it was as good as anything was.
At
back
least
in those
it
days.
had reputation as having good journalists who would.
Well,
dig in and
I
Do you
mean,
think
facts.
journalism has gone downhill, or is it just now we know better?
I think it's definitely gone downhill.
You think so?
When I listen to like even when you listen to older journalists who are going on like talk
Even
shows
though
and stuff,
Walter Cronkite was a piece of shit. but-
yeah, there were bad ones. There were bad ones, but if you listen to like the older journalists, like maybe most of them aren't famous, but that's the thing is they didn't get famous by going after the crazy like made up stories and stuff. So they would tell stories factually, and there was a certain ethics and ethos to being a journalist.
Interesting.
You researched and found the facts, and that's what you presented.
I think it was more back in those days, 50 years ago. It was more of an economics thing. There were so many more media companies back in those days on the mainstream,
Yep.
in the
And they
mainstream
were all
space,
local.
and they
More?
were way more. Like
Yep.
there's like what 4 now, and there were like 60 or 80
Yep.
different major media companies back in those days that were all competing in the same space. So you did have overall better journalism going on in those days. I mean, I don't think that
Maybe.
Watergate would have been the same story if it happened now. And I don't think that, what Seymour Hersh was really famous for was the My Lai massacre
Well, I do think
in Vietnam.
Yeah.
He's the guy that broke that story
Yeah.
to the American people about that massacre that the Americans did in that Vietnamese village. And he's the one that broke the whole, like no one could even do about it until he's the one that like put it forward in the New York Times. And so, you start talking about journalism like that. If that had happened nowadays, we wouldn't even know about it. It would certainly be on
That's
CNN.
another episode I want to do. Just one on Vietnam War. I don't know anything about
Let's
it.
do it.
It'd be
Just do it.
MK Ultra. We're doing OKC.
The
and
Gulf of Tonkin incident.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, there's
That's kind of why I
so
started
many-
this show. There's a lot I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, there's
Agent Orange. I actually know a guy who's a Vietnam veteran who is
I
like
bet you do.
and he was one of the guys that was like over there and got sprayed with this Agent Orange stuff, and he talks about how terrible that stuff was.
Yeah.
Like he
Oh man, the
to the-
economic or the environmental stuff we did.
yeah,
It's just-
and he's actually a farmer, and he's like obviously an old guy now, but like he couldn't use like chemicals on his fields because he was so sensitive to like
Oh, yeah.
chemicals and stuff on his
Yeah.
skin. He had to hire all that done by other people
Hmm.
because he was so sensitized to it from that Agent Orange. It was so bad for him. He goes like to the VA and gets like cancer cut out of his skin all the time because of that Agent Orange shit. And he was exposed to that by the federal government.
Well, I mean, they were talking about the burn pits and stuff too. With
Well, in
Rebecca
Iraq.
Whiting, yeah,
Yeah.
that's another
Yeah.
one.
In
It's
Iraq
just
and
like,
Kuwait and all that. First
I was
Iraq
like,
war.
they burnt all their garbage and poo like right next to them.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah,
basically.
that's insane.
And people
Seems smart, right?
What we didn't even talk about is the size of those burn pits.
No, they're gigantic.
10 acres.
Holy cow!
That's the size of my property. You've seen my property.
A
10
community solar garden is 5.
Yeah, 10 acres. Their burn
Holy
pits
cow.
were on average. It was like I think it was 5 to 10 acres, but most of them are like 10 acres. It's like, and so yeah,
Yeah.
you imagine a place like this big, constantly putting out a black pillar of smoke.
And not only that, all the oil wells that burned over there that we blew up
Yep.
and stuff. But you watch the movie Jarhead, and you kind of get a little glimpse of like how much like fire and black smoke and flames and stuff were coming off of those just the oil wells burning. They didn't talk about the burn pits in that movie Jarhead, but it was just like they're like covered in oil that's like half
Yep.
burnt, and it's just like the sky's like black, and they're just breathing this crap in.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god! Well, it killed Bo Biden.
Even Joe Biden admitted that.
Yeah, I mean that's
Well,
not
that's kind
news
of
to anybody really.
yeah. I know it's kind of like such an obvious thing to say, but the people that care about our environment do not care about our environment.
Yeah.
No, the
the
number,
ruling elite sector,
the number
the corporate-
one organization that pollutes the most on this world is the United States military.
yeah
They pollute more than
Well,
any
and
single
the-
organization.
goes back to
anywhere.
the Nord Stream pipeline. With it.
Yeah.
You know how
Created
much
a natural
that
disaster.
was a huge natural disaster they just did on purpose.
Push the button and
Yeah.
blew it. Well,
And
well,
the
so
train
just,
derailed that Ohio train too.
well, yeah, and that
that
probably
at least
wasn't-
I think was an accident.
I think that
maybe.
actually was an accident.
Well, it was an accident up until they lit it on fire. And they
Well,
lit it
yeah.
on fire because they didn't want them to explode because they thought they couldn't keep them from starting on fire. And it's like this seems like a lot of incompetence. Whoever was there, it doesn't really matter what you have to
When
do.
we could go for another 2 hours yet.
Yeah.
Well, someone
But
was
it doesn't
telling me
matter.
too.
I mean, think about Chernobyl. Like it was really badly handled and there was a
Mm-mm.
huge amount of fallout until well,
It wasn't badly handled.
Mm-mm.
no, hold on. I'm saying for the first 36 hours, it was really badly handled until the
Well, in fact,
until
it
the
was, yeah.
world looked at it, until the world's eyes were on it, and all of a sudden they got their act together, and yeah, it cost a few lives, but they were able to shut it all down and pull together enormous resources. And for one little train derailment, we couldn't. And I heard, and don't quote me on this because I haven't seen the facts, but I heard they said that they couldn't put out the fire in time, and they had basically a 2-hour window to put out this fire, and it was better to drain the cars and burn them than let the cars potentially blow up. And when I heard that, my thought is 2 hours is an enormous amount of time to respond to something like that, and you don't have a military base with choppers that you can fly in something to deal with it. I mean,
I'm
we
kind of
have
curious what would
resources in
happen
this
if that
country.
blew up though.
Yeah, I don't know. Those are all very interesting.
I'm just saying,
things to
I'm not
consider.
saying that they didn't take the best course of action. I'm saying nobody has given an explanation that makes any sense. That's
No,
all
no.
I'm saying.
Least of all, Pete Buttigieg.
But
Just don't ask him for a
Butt gag.
question or
Butt gag.
Well, and the best way to see his butt is just to ask him a question about the train derailment.
He'll
and
show it
just-
right on his face.
or he'll turn and
Run away.
Yeah, run
Yeah.
away.
Oh my god,
Such a
such a loser.
I can't believe.
Have you ever been
that-
to South Bend, Ohio, or South Bend, Indiana?
No.
No, I haven't either, but I've heard it's a real hellhole.
Huh.
I know
when
some
he
people
got
have been
done
there.
with it.
Yeah, it was terrible. Like, well done, Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, and all
Mayor
these people,
Pete, as he liked to call himself, or we like to call him, Mayor Pete.
all these people are ass kissers. That's how they get where they get.
Well, he
Yeah.
dropped out, endorsed Biden, and Biden's like, "I got a job for you, buddy.
Exactly.
Here's your payment."
Well, I think that's about all the time we have for today, folks. I should stare at the camera over there.
There it is.
Thanks for watching our show. If you want to help us out, you can donate for free. Just kidding. We don't have any way for you to help us out except to like
And subscribe.
and subscribe. And if you're really excited, you can share and you can comment and stuff like that. But just hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. You made it this far. I mean, you might as well, right?
I
Right.
would. I would.
Yeah.
You would.
I would like to
subscribe?
subscribe. Yeah.
You can.
This is a democracy. How many of us would subscribe to the Black Flag?
Wow, that's like
There we
unanimous
go.
right there.
You can also follow us on Twitter.
Yeah. Check us out on
I'm
Twitter.
at Ryan_Hanson, HANSON.
I'm John Wiersma, John_Wiersma, WIERSMA.
Black Flag Pod.
Oh, he has the official one. So-
Yes, you can follow me there. I have my own, but that's just a backup. So
It's basically Black Flag Pod. Is basically.
actually, this Twitter account was whoa, what is going on there? But anyway, this Twitter account was
Somehow this screen decided to join.
interesting. So we probably cut out there for a little bit, but anyway, thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting, and
Now you can see us with two angles.
all that stuff. So see you next time. We have on Tom Luongo, and then we have on Kyle Matovic to talk about health because I've literally been sick all year. And then we're going to have on the great Jose Galison. I actually booked him.
Really?
Well,
I didn't know that.
before OKC, before he was big on OKC, or no, before he was more famous for OKC, before he
Okay.
went on Timcast and all that stuff, I was like, hey, you should come on our show. And then we figured out it would be a Thursday after Timcast. And then now that article came out from, I think it was CNN about OKC, and
Okay.
you know,
Check all that
it's been
out.
all in Twitter and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I gotta catch up.
of course. So I'm really excited to have him on.
Ketchup.
I've noticed like there's a lot of dry information about it that's just not very. It's hard. It's interesting, but it's hard to like. It's not like an easy story to understand. There's so many ins and outs and stuff like that. So I'm hoping to pull together like a nice little
Concise
story that you can branch off from after that, and maybe watch Jose's 10-part series, 12-part series, whatever he has on. So that's all the time we got for today, folks. If you hit
Cool.
end broadcast at the top right, it
Goodbye.
should.
Goodbye.
And then you guys say yes.